In this video, I'll show you how to create a program that shows a visual pattern. So the idea here is that the program will ask for initial value and a rate. It will then display the initial value, and then it will, as step 0, it'll display step 1, step 2, and step 3. And when I say display, it will show the number of items in each step. So I'm going to start with the cat feature here. First thing we'll do is we'll click on the green, when green flag is clicked. So if we click on events, when the green flag is clicked, you can see that my cat is currently missing. We'll click on show. And I like this size for cat because we're going to put a whole bunch of them on the screen. So size of 30 is probably a good one to do. And I'm going to start with the cat in the middle of the screen. So I'm going to click on motion. Now I know your cat is probably there right now, but at the end of this program, it may not be, and we want it to start back in its original position. So we'll start it at 0, 0. So there we are. The cat is at 0, 0. The other thing that we'll do is we're going to have a bunch of stuff on the screen, and at the very beginning of our program, we will want to erase everything that was on the previous version of the run-through so we don't sort of cross-pollinate our runs. In order to do that, what we'll do is we'll click on the blue box here at the bottom, click on the pen tools, and you'll notice when you do that, you end up with a bunch of tools that are related to the pen. I'm going to choose this erase all. So this kind of, the first 3 blocks here just reset everything so that they can run properly every time. So we'll start off by showing our sprite. We'll go to the center of the screen and we'll erase everything. If you want to, you could change the order of any of these. It doesn't really matter. All right, next up we're going to ask what the initial value is. So I'm going to click on the blue sensing tools, ask what is your name. We will change that to how many items does your pattern start with? And then we'll get the answer to that. We'll create a variable to store that information. So click on variables near the bottom. We will make a variable called initial value. Click OK. And then we will drag out this set initial value to 0 block, and we'll stick answer in here. So this will store whatever was typed in here will get stored as the initial value so that we can use it later. We'll do the same thing for the rate. So click on sensing, ask how many items does the pattern go up by? Does your pattern go up by? And we'll drag out that answer, create a variable. So under variables, make a variable, we'll call it rate. Click OK, set, it says initial value, we'll change that to rate equal to the answer. All right, so far we have stored an initial value and a rate. So the next thing I want to do is I want to start outputting the results. So I'm going to basically start somewhere in towards the upper left of the screen, somewhere up here. I will display step 0 of the pattern, step 1, 2, and 3. So let's start with step number step 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on motion. We'll grab one of these go to XY blocks. There it is. And this might take a little bit of trial and error, but I think -120 and 70 would be a good place to go. So that's going to be somewhere over here, not right at the very top, but somewhere near the top of the screen. So once my cat goes there, I want it to stamp a copy of itself, whatever the initial value is, so that many times. So in order to do that, I'm going to use a repeat, or a loop as it's called. So we'll grab this repeat 10 block. I don't want to do it 10 times. I only want to repeat it however many times the initial value was. So I can go to the variables, grab my variable called initial value, and stick it in here. So if you enter 3 up here for the initial value, this loop will repeat 3 times, everything in here. And the way that we make a copy of ourselves, or our sprite, under the pen tools, we grab this second one down called stamp. So that will make a stamped copy of that. And then we can move over 30 steps. So motion, move 30 steps. And again, you might have to play around with this depending on the size of your sprite and which sprite you chose. So this should display the initial value. So let's run this. It's asking me what my initial value is. I'm going to put 3 in for the initial value, and I'm going to say that the rate is 2. So it displayed 3, and then my sort of live version of my sprite is here. So that it looks like there are 4. The initial value is 3. This loop ran 3 times, and I got 3 copies plus my initial sprite. We'll deal with the fact that that's there afterwards. We'll hide it at the end. All right, the next step here then is I'm going to have a variable called total that keeps track of how many copies, how many stamps did I make so far, so that I can add the rate to that. So I'm going to create a variable, go to variables, we'll call it total, make variable, total, click OK, and we are going to grab this set initial value to, change that to total, so set total to, and I want the total to be the initial value plus the rate so far. Just the initial value, because that's how many things I stamp. So not the initial value plus the rate, sorry about that. We'll just want to set the total equal to the initial value. So now I know that I've stamped out 3 times. The next time I need to stamp out 3 plus whatever my rate was, so 3 plus 2 in this case. Alright, so my cat is sitting here at the end of the line. I need to move it down a line, and I'm going to move it to the beginning of the line. Again, students may choose some interesting ways to display their patterns. I'm just going to keep it nice and organized here. So my next move is going to be to click on motion, and I am going to change Y by 10. I'll grab that block out. I want to change Y by negative 50. Negative because I'm moving down. I want to take the Y value and slide it down 50. And then I'm going to grab this set X block, set X2 block, and I'm going to change that to negative 120. So that's going to bring this cat down a little bit and back to where I started the last line. Again, this X value here matches up with this X value over here. So once I'm at that line, I need a repeat. So what I want to do is that was step 0. I want to do steps 1, 2, and 3. So I'm going to repeat 3 times. So under control, grab a repeat. We're going to do this 3 times. And I can right click on the block and just add a comment so that I can remind myself, why am I doing this 3 times? This is to show, just click in here and start typing steps 1 to 3. Slide that a little bit further off to the side if it's in the way, and hide it. So, and if I'm not sure what that's for, I can come back and read it later on. All right, inside this repeat, so the first time through this loop, I'm going to display step number 1. The second time it'll be step 2, and the third time will be step 3. Inside this repeat, I need another repeat because I need to stamp a whole bunch of cats here. And the number of cats that I need to stamp at each time through this loop is going to equal the total, this variable total that we had so far, plus whatever the rate is. And we'll update that total as we go. So I want to repeat this not 10 times, but I'm going to need an operator here for a sum. And we are going to get our variables called initial value, total, plus the rate. So whatever the total was before, I want to take that total and add the rate to it. And that's how many times I'm going to repeat this right here. Again, I'm just going to add a comment for this line. So this repeat displays each step of the pattern. And I'll say 1 to 3 because we already displayed step 0. I'll just hide that. We don't really need to see it right now. And you can notice here, I kind of clicked on it. Need to have the hand so you can move that comment out of the way. All right, inside this repeat, we're going to do exactly what we did up here. So we'll just right click here, choose duplicate. We're going to make a stamp. We'll move over 30 steps. And then we'll come back, repeat, stamp, move over 30 steps the right number of times. All right, once this part here is done, once this repeat is done, I need to move to the next line to show the next step. So I'm going to click on the motion. I'm going to set x to negative 120 was the beginning of the line. And then I'm also going to change y by negative 50. So I'm going to move down 50. So change y by negative 50. And then the last little bit here inside is that I need to update my total. We had this total, and now we've just added whatever the rate was to it. So we need to make that change. Otherwise, we won't display the right number. So under variables, we're going to grab this set initial value to, and we are going to set our total equal to the total plus the rate. So I'll grab those two blocks because they're here, go to the operators, grab a plus block. So now our new total is total plus the rate. So that's going to give us however many cats we stamped on that line, so that when we add the rate the next time, we get the right number. All right, let's run this and see what happens. It's asking how many blocks. I'll say that the initial value is 3 and the rate is 2. So here are the 3 to start. Then, so this is the initial value. We have 2 more, we added 2 more, we added 2 more, and there's that cat at the very end. So what we'll do is we'll go to looks and we'll choose hide. Just stick that on at the very end so we don't see it. Let's try that again. So the initial value is 3, the rate is 2, and then we can see that. It might be helpful to label these. So what we can do is add a sprite. Click on the little cat here. Sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. It's the right area, I just did the wrong. So instead of clicking, I'm just going to click on the paintbrush and I'm going to create my own sprite. To do that, I'm going to do this and call this step 0. And you can see that now I have this sprite up at the top here called step 0, and I can put it here. And then I can come back to the code here. You can see my code is gone. It looks like it's gone, but that's because I'm on the step 0 sprite. There's no code associated with that sprite, so if I move back to the cat, it's still there. And then if I want to, what I can do is I can right click on that step 0 sprite, choose duplicate, and then click on costumes and just go in and edit that text. Change that to a 1 and so on. And again, I just need to put this here. I don't need to code anything for the steps. And I think that is probably it. Might be worth, if you're satisfied with the way the program works, you might want to hide those variables. They're great for seeing what's going on. But now we run it and we can see, let's try a different value. Let's try initial value of 2 and a rate of 1. So again, just add it. You can add in those other sprites there to show the step numbers. And that is how we can show a linear pattern very visually in Scratch.